Good morning.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
I don't think there's anything wrong with taking ownership and collaborating with your medical team. Story time. So if you're from New York City and if you're from New York State, this is for you. But if you're not from New York City, if you're not from New York State, if you're not from New York, this is not for you. So just keep scrolling, keep it pushing. I wanted to talk today about some of the things that it took for me to stay alive. And, you know, the story is, of course, in 2017, I was diagnosed with stage 4 triple negative breast cancer, one of the most aggressive breast cancer it is. I had like a 4% chance of survival, and luckily for me, I was able to fight my way into a clinical trial, and I made medical history. And to be transparent, of course, the drugs that saved my life had nothing to do with targeting triple negative breast cancer. That being said, there was a lot that went into it. Like, I had a nurse, and I had a doctor, I had a whole clinical team, I had a social worker, I had a nutritionist, I had a masseuse, I had valet parking, I had, you know, a lot of technical equipment. I had drugs that I had to pay for. I probably had close to $500,000 worth of drugs pumped into my body because it was a trial only for immunotherapy. And when you think about that expense and you think about what it took and encompassed outside of me being resilient, one thing that oftentimes get overlooked is the fact that at one point in my journey, I was underinsured. Yeah, I actually went without insurance for like a month. Luckily for me, the hospital I was at, shout out to NYU, covered me with their emergency fund, but I had to go out and find insurance. And so there's a program that I took part of. Thankfully, again, if you're in New York State, New York City, it's called the Medicaid Cancer Treatment Program. It's called the Medicaid Cancer Treatment Program. And it's only for people who've been diagnosed with breast, with cervical, with prostate cancer, and you have to fall within a certain guideline. But if you're underinsured, or you're like maybe working part-time, or you just fall in the guidelines that I was under, it's a wonderful program that will make sure that if you've been diagnosed, again, with breast, ovarian, cervical, or prostate cancer, you can be covered. So one of the things that I was able to partake in as a person who was diagnosed with the late stage disease and diagnosed with cancer, so it can be for early stage or late stage, is the Medicaid Service Treatment Program. And it's from the Department of Health at New York State. And that's a beautiful thing. And again, if you've been diagnosed with breast, cervical, colorectal, or prostate cancer, the Medicaid Service Treatment Program is a wonderful thing. The only thing I can say is that they have eligibility requirements that are really important. So you've got to be able to prove that you're eligible. And I'm assuming you've got to bring in like a pathology report, you know, some medical information that proves and shows that you've been diagnosed with one of the cancers that I talked about. But also, in addition to that, you've probably got to bring in some paperwork in regards to what your status is as far as your work requirements. So one of the things about this program is you cannot go into a regular Medicaid office and sign up for this. So you should just go on your region, you click where you're living at, wherever county you live in New York. I live in New York County, Manhattan, and here's the listing that comes up, and none of these are Medicaid offices. You cannot walk into a regular Medicaid office and sign up for this particular program. You have to go to one of those listed. And if I were a patient and I was just newly diagnosed, I would go down each and every one because I'm not really sure how they update this list. So you may go and there may be a listing and they might not be in business anymore. So then you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, no, you don't stop there, you go on to the next one. And that's exactly what I did. literally in 2017. This list is a little more encompassing, it's a lot more listed, but I think there were only like 4 in New York City at the time. And luckily for me, I was able to find the one. Shout out to Columbia Presbyterian's Avon Center, and they were the ones that signed me up. And I got really lucky because not only did they take care of the costs that I was currently in, meaning all of the costs that came with the clinical trial, but they also, the Medicaid Service Treatment Program, backdated it. And so anything that happened while I wasn't covered, any treatment that happened when I wasn't covered, they backdated the application and paid back the hospital so I could stay in the trial and I could still get treated, and here I am today. So this is a resource, again, only for my people from New York State and New York City, and it's a beautiful program, and most of you guys don't know about it. A lot of people I know are not talking about it, but I feel like it's an important resource, especially for somebody who's underinsured or who just doesn't have, they can't afford to be insured, they can't afford. You know, I can remember when I was out there and I was trying to pay for my COBRA, and I had stopped working, but I was still paying COBRA $600 a month to keep my insurance, and I could no longer afford to do it. So I think this program is really important. Again, you have your eligibilities, you have to bring in some information in regards to your diagnosis. You probably have to bring in like if you're renting, or if you got a mortgage, you know, you got a co-op, you bring in, you know, how many people live in your household, and you bring it, and yeah, you can sign up for it. It's a really wonderful resource. So the Medicaid Cancer Treatment Program for New York State. Shout out to New York for making sure that people diagnosed with breast, cervical, colorectal, or prostate cancer still have the ability to be, you know, taken care of.